people think that this is an athlete sport, but it's really a team sport. Our goal is to be a World Series team, and we had a meeting with Warner's to express that this year. At the end of the day, I think there's definitely need for juniors at the World Cup, so it's all self-funded through myself and Patricia. Our kids probably won't end up with any inheritance.
Are you willing to give us a rough feel for like what it costs to bring an entry-level setup to a World Cup? Okay, we're in Morzine at Atlas Ryco, the place to come if you want to come and check out a great riding holiday over here. And I'm joined by Chris Higgs. Chris, welcome to the Downtime podcast.
Thank you very much for having us.
It's a pleasure, mate. And we're going to talk a lot about your backstory and find out how you've ended up doing the crazy stuff you're doing now. But let's just start off by giving us some background on the team, right? You're the team owner, team boss of Team High Country. Just give us the kind of, the elevator pitch on what the team is and what it is you're doing.
Yeah, so basically 4 years ago, myself and my wife owned a pub in Jindabyne, which is close to Thredbo, where Cannonball is. And we had some young kids there that were good up-and-coming riders but really didn't have financial backing to get to the World Cups. So we supported them in some money support for the first year, and they came across and did a couple of rounds. And then I met one of them at Montsanan and actually realised that it's not just money what they needed. It was the whole team structure behind them. So I went home straight away and spoke to the wife and said, at that time we already had plans of putting the pub on the market and looking for something else to re-eventuate into. And that's sort of where it all started. I said that, these kids really need from way to go, like from helping with sponsorship, getting them over there, the management side of things, the head game correct, and that's where sort of Team High Country came from. So 3 years ago we came across with some juniors and some elite riders. That went fairly well. Big learning curve, getting over here to buy a truck and a pit setup and van and stuff like that, and we've just grown each year from that. Last year we still had some elites and junior riders, and then with the rule changes this year we decided to have a look at what would be better financially and more benefiting for the sport, and that's where we chose just to concentrate on the juniors.
Okay, nice. And who have you got on the team this year? Just take us through the roster.
So at the moment we've got Zach Bradley, which is an Australian rider. He's currently sitting 11th in the World Cup standings.
Nice.
We've got Malik Boatwright, which is a New Zealand rider. He's sitting 8th. And then we've got Bella, and she's sitting 4th overall at the moment. So,
amazing.
It's a very big step up from what we've had in the past.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go back then and get the kind of backstory of how we've ended up here. Where does mountain biking fit in your life? Because you've got a motorsport background, right? Like that's what you've kind of grown up with.
Yeah, I come from dirt rallying. Obviously, having kids, I tried to push my kids into the motorsport way. Ashton was into motocross at an early age and had probably one of the best trainers in Australia that anyone could ask for, that's actually trained a lot of the kids that are in the US motocross now. So still to this day he keeps an eye on what Ashton's doing, and you might see some video and he's like elbows up and stuff like that. So basically I could see that Ashton's probably got a bit of future in the sport. I don't know if it's going to be to the World Cups or just freestyle or that. So I looked at him, and then he was one of those kids that for some reason all the older guys wanted to take for a ride and stuff like that at Thredbo, and I guess that's where the team came from too.
So it was your boy getting into riding,
and then just saw, going back to the motorsport side of things, like I was good, I didn't really have the budget either to run with the bigger teams, and that's where we sort of taken that moral from what I should have had into mountain biking.
So you sort of feel like your opportunity didn't manifest in the way that it could have done, if there was a support from someone or a team or whatever.
Yeah, totally. Like my mum and dad were behind us 100%. You know, my dad was head of surf life saving clubs in Australia, and you know, I remember as a kid towing a trailer full of 20 odd skis, and they were anyone's skis. Dad was the same. Just to get those kids to the events, he'd do anything.
So it runs in the family.
Yeah, it runs in the family.
Yeah, that's awesome. So was Ashton right, like racing? He was getting involved in the sport, like.
Yeah, so basically his second year in the sport, he was Australian champion for his age group. So, yeah, he's got the potential, and now he's doing a lot of filming for the World Cup at the moment, so he's enjoying that. And I still think that's a massive benefit until he's old enough to be able to race the World Cups. Is he's seeing the lines, he knows the tracks, he's done a bit of filming for Loic at the moment, and
nice.
And even Loic said he's way ahead of the kids that have to come over and deal with it for the first year.
Yeah. I interviewed Ollie Clark, who you know well, earlier in the week, and I think Martin Whiteley, his manager, brought him and his dad out to Leogang to show him one World Cup, But the experience that Ashton's having of being on the circuit and being trackside is invaluable if he wants to race.
And I think you touched on a real important part there, is that trying to get out of here before the World Cups, even if it's that year before that you're entering juniors, just to see what it's like. The biggest thing that we see from the kids we bring over is them transitioning from a privateer to having a bit of team support, and we're racing top level races here. We're not racing club races or anything. So, I think that's a very strong point.
It's pretty serious stuff. So did you start off by supporting people back home before you dived in and started getting involved with World Cup level racing? What's the progression from your son racing and you being a part of that to you wanting to help more people to then ending up here?
Yeah, so obviously it did start back in Australia. We'd be going to events, and, there's some kids there that don't even have cars to get to the events, so we'd always offer to get them to the events. And, I'm fitter turner by trade and all, so done all my own mechanics and that on the car. So, I don't mind looking at broken parts and working out how to fix them. So we've looked after kids at national titles and stuff like that, and always have a team present at the national titles. So it's sort of just extended from that. And just going back to it, making that leap from national titles to World Cup's huge. So that's where I wanted to try to fill that hole. Yeah.
Well, so was it riders that you kind of knew through what you were doing in the scene locally then that you saw trying to make that step and not able to? Is that what pulled you towards the World Cup element of it?
Yeah, at the first year that I supported some riders in money support, one of our local kids, Jackson Connolly, was on pink bike. So I sort of knew a fair bit what was going on. And then obviously he got injured, so he didn't really get picked up for the second year. He came back to our team. So it was good to sort of help that, and Jackson did help because he sort of had that team environment and stuff like that. So, I strong believer of trying to do everything properly from day go. So the team was always presented in proper uniforms. We purchased a truck with an awning on the side and stuff like that. I had meetings with Warner Brothers to find out what they expected, because I knew the rules were changing. And we were looking at this as an investment, as a business. And then tried to gain some good mentors, which I thoroughly enjoy these days, is, Laurent from Special Gravity is probably one of my biggest mentors, where,
amazing.
If I need to ask a question, I can always ask. We're on Atherton bikes, so, G always comes up and asks how we're going. Gabe from Canyon, been really good this year, getting the results and being in the management area. I'm getting a lot of thanks and praise to what we're doing, and, that's
brilliant.
It's costing us a lot of money, but that's my pay at the end of the day at the moment, is what we're getting seen in the industry. Yeah,
good stuff, mate. Good on you. It's nice to hear that the sport's welcoming you in and helping you out. I always hear from many teams and many riders that the pits have got people's backs. If you're there, people will look after you.
Yeah, a strong believer of that as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's always the way you ask.
Yeah, okay.
You have to walk up to the pits. If they're busy, like things do go wrong in this sport.
Yeah.
You've got to read the crowd before you actually ask, and I've always grown up, and that was through motorsport, and that's probably how I got to where I was, is the worst thing they can say is no.
Yeah.
So if they say no, move on to the next one, but if you're polite and ask, 90% of the times it's pretty good. I know Nico's on your follow-up report each time, and Nico's helped us out with tyres this year. Bernard from Pivots helped us out with tyres this year. There is help there if you need.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. So where do you start then? You've done the kind thing of giving some money to some people and helping them out. It's also kind of the easy thing, right? It's a lot harder to do what you're doing now and start pulling a team together. You mentioned, having meetings with Warner Brothers, all this kind of stuff, but there's a huge amount of work to go into understanding how the sport works for starters, and then planning and doing all the logistics and making sure you've got everything you need. Talk us a little bit through the process of the idea to the reality of it happening. Yeah.
So obviously, coming from dirt rallying as well, you've got yourself and a navigator.
Yeah.
And then we would have 3 to 4 service crew.
Okay.
So basically I would do all the logistical stuff like that. I'd drive the truck to the event, fly everyone in, accommodation. So really from that, it just extends into this sport. It's a different sport, but everything's the same. At the moment, it's only my wife and I as sort of team directors. We've got 2 mechanics that, help out. But at the end of the day, over in Europe, I'm driving the truck to the event, and Poss is driving the 17-seater van with the team in it to the events as well. So, it's almost like a one-person shop, you know. And that's probably the hardest thing for us at the moment. Our goal is to be a World Series team, and we had a meeting with Warner's to express that this year.
Yeah.
The only downfall I see is the cost of it.
Yeah.
Not just the series cost. It's becoming a bit of a money game that, they're going to be classing all the teams as the team riders points, not what you've achieved the year before. So in saying that, we don't have money to pay wages or anything like that to our riders at the moment. That's one thing we are definitely working on. So it's all self-funded through myself and Patricia at the moment, which, our kids probably won't end up with any inheritance. But to see a smile on their face travelling the world as well, they're learning massively.
Heaps.
I think I mentioned before I'm heavily dyslexic, so and my daughter's heavily dyslexic, and school's a pain in the bum.
Yeah, it doesn't fit, right?
I think she's learning 10 times more here. She's not afraid to ask questions to anyone. She knows everyone's names in the pits. She knows if we've had a good day or a bad day. So I just think it's all round. It's not just about, making a wage out of this or anything.
Sure.
It's about getting these kids to experience to the level, and then hopefully stepping up into one of the big fat tree teams. But my goal is to be one of those big fat tree teams in the long run.
Good stuff, man. Are you willing to give us a rough feel for what it costs to bring an entry level setup to a World Cup? And it's still, you've got a pretty significant setup still. Yeah.
So at the moment, we're probably at around about 350,000 Australian. So probably about 175,000 euro.
Yeah, and that's your season.
That's season covered. That's airfares for the family.
Yeah.
We're a little bit different to the other teams is we look after the juniors if they want in between events and stuff like that. So, their families are paying a little bit in between the events, but anything to do with the races, we cover everything. So that's, paying wages for 2 mechanics for the whole Europe season, because by the time we send them home, it's just not worth it. And I'm a strong believer that people think that this is an athlete sport, but it's really a team sport, because at the end of the day, Loic would back us in this as, without Jack, he's probably just like everyone else. But, with those 2 brains working together, that's where they gain all this so much speed.
And all the infrastructure the team puts around them, the trackside people that are looking at lines and pushing the bike back up for him. And it's not just Loic winning the race on a Saturday or a Sunday, hey?
And I think as well, going back to the cost is, this year was really hard to budget. We didn't know what the pit spaces were going to be.
Okay.
Like part of the World Series team, they paid the €40,000. That covered the entries, the pit space and all that.
Yeah.
We don't get any of that. So we have to deal with all the local organisers.
Yeah.
And most of the events have sort of ranged between 25 to 35 a square metre, and our truck's around that sort of 80 square metre by the end of it. So then they've got power on top of that, which is normally about €500 for the event.
So it adds up pretty quick.
So realistically, by the time we pay the entries, the pit spaces, we'd be fairly close to what the World Series teams are paid.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, so which I understand as well. Like we were over at Champrix the other day, and the team manager for YT was there, and he sort of said, "Well, if you weren't, it's not fair to the World Series teams." And I actually thought about it. That is true. Like at the end of the day, it is what it is. As long as it's an even playing field for everyone, I think it's fair.
But you'd see, how far in advance of each event do you find out the cost?
Normally about 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Yeah, it's not like we knew at the start of the season. And when we did the budget for this year, we budgeted on what it cost us last year.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more than that. So, it's been this, towards the end of this season, it's been more about tracking the money and making sure we've got enough to get through the rest of the season.
It's super tricky, eh?
Yeah.
Have you been able to bring in much from brands? Because obviously, first thing is you've got to get riders on bikes. So you want equipment, kit, frames, all that kind of stuff. Beyond that, then you'd want some financial input. And that's the bit that I think is the hardest piece to get, right?
Well, definitely. I'll be brutally honest. This is the first year we've had any money input from an outside supporter.
Yeah.
And that's through MTB giveaways.
Okay.
And it's just an Australian company where he sort of runs a raffle for a bike, and he's all about what we're doing as well. Like he doesn't really make it for himself about profit or anything. He's putting nearly everything he makes back into the sport.
Yeah.
He wants to do a bit of a one series race in Australia, which I was going to talk to him when we get home to see if we can help out with that, because I do believe that could be the future for Australia.
Yeah.
So money-wise, it comes purely from Poss and I.
Fair play. It's a big commitment.
It's a big commitment, and I know our parents will probably pull their hair out once they hear this. But, at the end of the day, we looked at it as a business. We're in our third year now, and it's definitely going in the right direction. We've already had some people come to us ready for next year.
Great.
So hopefully that does come out.
Yeah.
To make it work this year is Atherton's definitely support us, but it's not free or anything.
Yeah.
So the athletes have actually paid for their frames.
Okay.
But then we've had Fun come on board this year. They've supplied all the cockpit gear free of charge, which has been a massive help.
That's cool.
SRAM came on board and gave us a really good discount.
Sweet. Okay.
We're working with a wheel company, Wingman, out of Australia, who, have supported us with rims and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Continental Australia helped out. The biggest problem there is
they're in Australia.
So we had to bring 35 tyres over originally.
Yeah.
And that's all we could do due to the weight reason and stuff like that. And that's where Bernard and, Nico have helped out as well.
Nice.
So,
logistically, it's not easy, right, to move all that stuff across the planet.
No, definitely not. And that's where I originally thought we need a truck. We need a van here. All our stuff's kept in Albania because my brother-in-law's Albanian, so we're actually lucky that way.
Yeah.
So they've got people there that look after the van and do all the maintenance on stuff
during
the off-season while we're back in Australia. So it does work out well. Going back to the logistical side, being dyslexic probably benefits me because I'm always thinking of ways of getting around and making it easy.
Yeah, so fair. And that truck, it's a big part of, I would say the team looks more affluent than it is. Do you know what I mean? Like you put on a show, you make it look good.
Yeah.
People think you're at a certain level, and then eventually the brands come on board and support at that level, but it takes a little while to get there. So the truck, and I think like the kit as well, like you guys, the team always looks good. You're all in your matching gear as staff as well. The riders look great. Like it's that element of it you've dialed really well. Has that been a really conscious focus?
I think that comes from the motorsport side of things as well. We were always, to me, presentation counts for everything. At the end of the day, you want to treat it as a professional sport, and if you don't, you're not going to get sponsors to come on board.
For sure.
You know, I'm probably lucky. One of my best friends is a graphic designer by trade in Australia, and he's always done my car wraps and everything for the rally car. So he's into biking now, so he's been really passionate about it. He does all the team uniform design.
Nice.
He did the full wrap for the truck this year and stuff like that, and everyone's like, you got a new truck? No, it's just been wrapped.
It's just got some stickers on it. Yeah.
So that's one thing I've always said to our team is you've got to look professional if you want to get anywhere with sponsors. The other thing that we're trying to bring into the athletes is you are the CEO of your business, because at the end of the day, yes, they're an athlete, but they've got to treat it like a business.
Yeah, so they're a brand. Yeah.
They're going to be wanting money to come in and stuff like that. So if they're not willing to put their hard yards in, they're just going to be like any other business that fails.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting part of it, right? You're by choosing juniors, you have it's not just an athlete, is it? It's a child, effectively, that is in your care for a period of time. Like, there's a big responsibility that comes with that, and helping them not just to race well, but to become a good adult and become a good athlete. Yeah,
that's right. You know, it is hard. We are dealing with, you know, anywhere between 16 and 18.
Yeah.
Normally first time out of home, so, you know, leaving bowls and dishes and stuff in the sink gets under my nerves and probably Poss's nerves at time. You know, owning the pub, I was doing a fair bit of cooking in the pub, so we just made a rule that I'd do the cooking at night time and stuff like that, and at least then we can monitor what the kids are eating and make sure that they're getting what they can and what they need, instead of living on croissants over here and lollies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing I try to believe in, is to get it right from day dot. Touching on the professional side of things, that, you know, you've got to treat it like a business. That, you know, if you're going to go to Fox and ask for money and you don't know how are you going to get it?
Yeah.
You know, and that's where in our contracts it's about social media. They're meant to post X amount of times a week and stuff like that. Not saying it always gets done, but at the end of the day, there's only so much I can tell them to do it. They've got to want to do it too.
Yeah,
so.
True. And I guess you're helping facilitate that with like imagery and video. Like you say, you've got your son up on the hill doing video for the team, which is really cool.
Yep. And then very lucky this year, we had a photographer for the last couple of years. He didn't really have too many other teams for this year, and I thought it was going to be too hard to just have a photographer there for us.
Yeah.
So I reached out to a couple, and we've got Mon on board this year, and it's just been amazing. Like, it's definitely a big part of our budget, but what we're getting has really helped with the brands as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's everything. Like, it's thinking from A to Z, you know.
Yeah, it's a complex beast, right? Like, it's not just go race and there's a television product and everything falls into place. There's beyond that, there's a huge amount of stuff to create a team and a brand that people recognize and that they, you know, look up to or admire or align with. Like, there's a lot of work to get to that point.
Yeah, definitely. Like, back in Australia, everyone laughs at me if they come over to the house because I've got a big printed out calendar, and I like writing stuff down on the calendar for the World Cups, you know, using highlighters and stuff like that. I'm, you know, not overly tech savvy and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, that works. I can see how we need to move around, you know, how much we've got in between events, where we're going to stay. We don't tend to do much of the booking in between the events until we get here.
Okay.
And one reason we've done that is that, you know, weather-wise, or if there's a good park to ride for the athletes to ride, we can choose that. Like, in between, I think it was Valdesol and Latil, we ended up at Verbier.
Okay,
nice. And it was awesome to ride. We basically had Verbier to ourselves, so we could do a lot of testing there.
Sweet.
And if you pre-book stuff like that, the weather could have been bad, or gone to the wrong place. So,
Do you ever get caught out and not be able to get what you need?
Well, Verbier was a bit of a funny one where we booked. And then we just booked over the other side of Verbier because of the cost. There was a chairlift there, but when we booked, they forgot to tell us that it was only open on the weekends.
Oh, no way.
So luckily we had the van there. We just had to load up the bikes, and it was about a 15-minute shuttle up to the top of the hill, and then the boys could ride into
all good.
to Verbier, and then we'd come over and pick them up in the afternoon. So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. You've picked, though, probably one of the hardest times in my memory of the sport anyway to build a team. Brands are struggling, marketing budgets are low. We've had the shift towards Warner Brothers, and we can talk a bit about that. People would definitely say they're making it harder for privateers. I'm keen to get your thoughts on that, right? You're definitely coming in at a challenging time for many reasons. Yeah,
definitely. Nearly every day we're seeing another bike brand either file for bankruptcy or, and it's hard. I've come from 25 years of business, so I know how hard it is.
Yeah.
And it's the worst decision you ever have to make in your life. I've had to put one of my businesses early on into bankruptcy, and that was 3 to 4 years of hell because you can't get loans, you can't do anything, But going back to it, I think we're hopefully at the bottom end of it. I really do.
I hope so.
For everyone, because even for Chris, for Warner's, I know what his vision is. And to me, as a business person, I'd be sitting there going, oh, this is not really the way that we're writing into the history books as, having brands falling over and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Touching on, is it cutting off the privateers? There's a lot of belief of that. I'm a strong believer that it's not. I think we've all got to sit back and realise this is still the top end of the sport. It's the same as rallying. I can't go to the WRC unless I've proven myself, So I still believe there's a lot of options. Australia and New Zealand jumped on it really quick this year, and I have to give them praise on that we had 4 or maybe 5 continental rounds. So each continental round, if you're, in those higher places, you get a wild card.
Yeah.
So there's an entry in straight away.
Yeah, I saw Baxter on the lift the other day, and he was saying that's how he's racing Leger in this coming week because of that. Yeah,
and that's sort of with what we sat down and worked out our plan to get to this year was, okay, the first was let's go and get wild cards for everyone, which we did.
Yeah.
Then with that, we gained points. Malik's in the top 100, Zach's in the top 100, and Bella's in the top 100. So even if we didn't get team wild cards, we still had that as a backup.
Okay.
And third, we had federation jerseys. So there is definitely ways to do it. And, there's people coming over still as privateers, like, Raw Racing out of Australia. They're not a UCI team this year. But one of their riders got into the elite finals at Andorra, which is awesome, in
incredible.
A fair jersey. So, I don't think the answer is that it's cut it off to everyone. I think these days, if you want it, you'll make it there, and it might cost you some money. But at the end of the day, we're in an expensive sport that, the average bike's $15,000.
Yeah, it's not a cheap
it's
thing
not
to
a
take
cheap
part
thing.
in. Yeah.
No.
And so you guys, your presence at a World Cup at the minute has been based off a team wildcard. Is that fair?
Yeah, so we've been lucky that we've had a wildcard for every race.
Yeah.
And I think that will continue through to the end. We've never done America before. It's in their contracts that if they're at a certain level, we'll go on to America.
Okay.
So we're just investigating that at the moment. If financially, 1, we can do it.
Yeah.
And 2, the logistical side of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, how does that work, right?
Yeah, like we don't even have a bike stand over there or anything like that. So that then we'll come back to talking to people at Leger this week, and hopefully between all the people we know, we might be able to get a bike stand or a couple of bike stands so we can, pit out of the the car park or something like that, just to make sure that these kids can get to what they need to do.
Continental did put up some pit space last year, maybe for various people.
That's what sort of Atherton's have done for the last couple of years, and I think that's a massive help because to get gear over there just for 1 or 2 rounds is a huge cost. Like,
that's insane.
There's talk of other continents next year, which that's going to face the same thing. Is teams don't have the trucks there and stuff like that, and people probably don't understand is we're not the F1, we're not WRC, we're not Superbikes, where they're air freighting containers in full of their workshop stuff. So we've got to think on our feet and sort of take what we can carry and do our best.
I'd heard that potentially there was some consideration of like the organisation, Warner Brothers, I guess, creating pit space and flying stuff in so that you guys just turn up and you have your pit space and most of what you need there, and the mechanics just come with a toolbox and a bike kind of thing, which would make sense for South Korea.
I think it definitely would benefit. I don't know what the look of it would look like, all being in white tents. At the end of the day, we want the teams to stand out. We want fans to follow the brands and stuff like that, where, having a white tent, I'm sure we can dress it up somehow. Like, it's a bit like a Formula One pit area where they have the banners across the top. That's something I guess will be looked at down the track. I'm sure Chris is already over that because it is about the look for Chris, and I think it's good because we've definitely brought some professionalism to the sport. Nothing against Red Bull. A fresh change is a good change. Not saying it's gone the way everyone wanted it, but
the on-site look I think is a step up with all the screens and things that they have for sure. How far in advance do you find out about getting your team wildcard place? Because they announce it like 2 or 3 weeks before, don't they, online? But do you get some more heads up? Because there's a lot of logistics to do, right?
Well, it's probably about a week or 2 before that.
Okay.
So it's not far out. No. That's where, going back to the planning in Australia, we basically got 3 to 4 wildcards per rider.
Okay.
So my whole thought was, if we got to the first couple of events and we had to use the wild cards and the riders were in the top 10, is it really fair if they said no, they couldn't attend the events? So there was a bit of madness to my theory and it's paid off. At the end of the day, I believe that the feedback we've had from Warner's, we're doing the right thing. They don't want the guys rocking up in vans anymore and stuff like that, and we're all in team uniform, as you said. Either now staff are in the same team uniform walking around. And just the respect we're getting from other teams, we're definitely doing the right thing.
So it's not that they don't want privateer level people, it's that they don't want the privateer image kind of thing. Does that make sense? Like they want to bring people into the sport, but they want it to look good, which I can understand.
And I think as well, just touching on that, coming from a business point of view, is that, if we've got, let's say, 20 World Series teams, that means they're dealing with 20 team managers for that. Then they're dealing with 8 to 9 wildcard team managers. That's not too bad. That's 29 people. But then if we've got 300 privateers, something goes wrong, they've got to deal with 300 people that really are looking after one person. And I hate saying that, but I see it from both point of views. Like, I think there definitely had to be some professionalism come into the pit area. And you've seen it this year that, all the teams look good. The fans like walking around to the pits. FMD's massive standout. I just can't believe he's done that in his own back shed. And I look up to him too by just going, he's sort of where we want to be in a couple of years' time.
They started where you guys started, right?
And I think when you look at it, is the teams that have got that family support behind them, to me, I might be biased, but they're the ones that stand out. To me, I still look at Special Gravity that's a family-run team. It's Laurent's family. It's, yes, they're the factory team for Specialized, but, Laurent's told me how that works, and I think most people will be surprised that, it is Laurent doing all that, with his team, and he's, basically started off the same as what we did too.
Yeah.
So,
really
and Tony's exactly the same with FMD. Like, yeah, it's good.
It's nice. And it's a good atmosphere to be in, right? Like traveling as a family together. If you've got that family vibe, then the team is probably going to do all right. Like they're going to perform.
Yeah. And obviously they're all the same. They want results too. I want results at the end of the day, but not having sort of that factory feel of where, you've got share stakeholders wanting to see the return and stuff.
Yeah.
That's where, it builds up more pressure on the factory riders then, where having that sort of family feel is, we all get disappointed. We all get sometimes pissed off.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
At the end of the day, we can still, people have off days. And that's, especially in our sport, you have a crash in qualies, it's going to bash them around for finals.
Yeah, you're kind of screwed these days. Yeah, for sure. So your riders that have earned wildcards from continental events, do they keep those wildcards if they race under a team wildcard? Or do they lose that?
Not 100% with the rules there. Like we're entering as a wildcard team, so that technically they haven't used their wildcard personally, but I believe that they just go to the wayside after this season, which is a bit of a pity, but that's part of the Warner Brothers structure, and you know we're going to have to go home to Australia and work on that for next year.
Which in a way is good, right? Because it's driving people to go and race at home, or like to race those races that, I don't know, in the UK feel unattended. I don't know how it is in Australia, but like to get from the point where we've to get to the point where we've got a pyramid of racing where World Cup is at the very top, those races in the middle need to have people there, right? And
without a doubt. And, you know, like I think a lot of the younger kids get a bit caught up with the Continental round and the IXS that it's not TV coverage. But at the end of the day, there's that many kids out with videos and stuff like that. You've got to make your own TV. You know, I think that almost hits home more to brands these days. You know, that if you've got a mate who can film a bit and you put a bit of an edit together of your weekend and be positive about it, that's what brands want to see. You know, as long as they can use it on their platform, you know, that's one thing I always say to my son is the music's the biggest point of videos these days. And, you know, some of them come back, oh, the brands haven't reposted my video. Well, look at the music, you know, it's got swearing and stuff in it, and brands can't do that. So that's a big thing. Just touching on what you said about the IXSs and the continental rounds, I think one thing that I'd like to see the UCI sort of look into a bit more is the point schemes. Is, you know, at the end of the day, I believe it's class 1, class 2, class 3 events. But a lot of the IXSs are class 1s, so they're getting the same points as what the people are getting at the World Cups. So as a small team, small budget, we've got to concentrate on the World Cups, so we can't get to the IXSs. So we've got people in the top 100 or top 50, you know, able to come to the World Cups, but then they're not qualifying.
Interesting, but they're getting those points.
But they're getting the points, you know, and I'm not taking the points away from them. But you know, like in slopestyle, I believe there's a gold, silver. You know, and I think if we want the World Cup to be F1, as people say, it should be the gold event with the most points. You know,
I think it's a lot. We've had a lot of change in the last 3 years since Warner Brothers came on board. And I guess there's stuff that's sort of still catching up in a way. Like
I believe, and I think it will get, you know, looked at. I just find it hard that, you know, we've only got juniors this year, and they're all pretty well in the top 10 except Zach. You know, we're seeing, I think, 23rd overall in the World Series team, where there's teams with elites that have maybe finished 30th or something, and they're beating us. You know, the points between the elites and the junior on the World Cup are probably a little bit not right, because these junior kids are matching the times of the elites.
These days, it's wild.
And I guess, you know, that's something we discussed beforehand is, you know, will it become one category down the track?
Yeah, there's rumours floating around. I don't know where these rumours have come from that juniors might not happen in the future. Have you got any insight on that or any views on that? Because I can see the arguments both ways for juniors at World Cup.
Yep. Oh, I don't have any idea of what they're thinking. I've heard the same thing. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, I think there's still a definitely need for juniors and at the World Cups. It's the same as the F1. Mm-hmm. You know, there's still F2 racing at the same of track and stuff like that, because it will then become a money game of, you know, the top 10 juniors will get picked up and then the rest of the juniors will never get a look in.
Right, okay.
I strongly believe that, you know, we need these juniors. And I think even with the TV coverage this year of the juniors, they've earned their own respect within the industry.
For sure. It's been so good to watch the last couple of seasons. Yeah.
So, I'd back it 100% that we keep the juniors.
Yeah. And do you think juniors could get paid? I know you said that you're not in a position to salary your riders, but you would want to. Is that how you feel about it? Yeah.
Definitely. At the end of the day, you know, like it's nothing going to be to what the elites are getting paid.
For sure.
But these kids are still risking their life. They're still putting their body on the line. You know, it's not going to be a full-time wage or anything like that. I think it's more that they just need a bit of wage to, you know, on their off weeks. They don't have to worry about, can I afford a cup of soup or can I go out for a schnitzel?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, just more stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess it is work, right? It is a job. Riding a bike professionally is a job. So getting used to earning money and having a salary from it feels kind of right, I think.
And I think where the sport and the times are going with these elites is it is almost a full-time job for them. Yeah. You know, people think that they're just off riding during the week, but no, they're at the gym, they're riding, you know, they're mentally getting trained as well, because to me that's a big thing these days is you can be fit, you can have the technical skills, but I think the mindset is probably 80% of what makes the winner these days.
Yeah, it's a huge part of it, right? Yeah. So limited budget, what are the things that you were a non-negotiable for you to have within the team? Like what were the elements of infrastructure or staffing or whatever that you were like, we need this?
Well, obviously we'd love to have line spotters. We tend to normally have a parent that's at the event on lines, or, you know, I've always said, and I've spoken to Special Gravity about this, I know Nico's helped out. I said to the guys, if you're really concerned, stop. Petey's been awesome as well. Like, nice. You know, at the end of the day, I don't think you really need to be overly secretive about lines, because everyone's going to find out anyway. Yep. And then it's whoever can ride it faster. And one line might be good for one person, doesn't mean it's going to be right for everyone else. You know, your bike setup could be totally different. Yeah. You know, so yeah, having a couple more staff would be nice.
And you'd put them on the hill. That would be the first thing.
Put them on the hill big time. Yeah. Not stressing out about tyres is a big thing, you know, so that's a big management of, you know, so we tend to roll into practice with the race tyres from the week before.
Okay.
And then go to a set of new tyres the night before qualies.
Okay.
And that seems to work. It's more just being able to support the riders probably a bit more in, you know, a bit more wage where it wouldn't cost them to get bike frames and stuff like that. You know, if we could actually turn around and say, hey, we can't afford to pay you, but you're going to walk away with a downhill bike and an enduro bike.
Yeah.
That's your wage. And at the end of it, if you sell it, you know, So, and that's where hopefully it will go next year. We're talking to some brands at the moment, and Fun's already basically said they're back on for next year and Sweet. Stuff like that. So
yeah, what is the plan? I think we briefly spoke in La Tuile, I think, and you said you had some plans to grow things for next year. Yeah,
so we definitely want to grow the team. We're going to grow into probably 2 elites, 1 female, 1 male, and then still 2 junior riders.
Okay.
Because I believe, yes, they step up to elites, but to me, they're still junior riders.
Okay.
It's, you know, not everyone's the Jackson Goldstone or Asa or, you know, even Teal or Max.
Yeah.
You know, they've still got to make their spot in elites, and sometimes it takes that 1 to 2 years to do so. Like Ollie Davis is probably a prime example. Was quite good in juniors. He's touched a little bit on elites, but I think next year he's going to be one to watch out for.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, when he gets settled in that team.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, just going back to having a bit more money support and, not coming out of our pocket all the way. But at the end of the day, that's our decision, and we've made that, and we're happy doing that. And as I said, there's no money coming back in. It's as long as those kids cross the line with a smile on their face and they've done the best they can, that's our reward.
Yeah. Does having some elite riders next year help from a points perspective to like almost guarantee the team entry to the events?
That's what we're hoping for too. Is that obviously, we've looked at the two elites, two juniors stepping up to elites next year, being Zach and Bella, and crossing their times over to the elites, and they'd be right on that sort of cut where, so that's a bit of positive for moving forward. And it's about getting, some elite points. So then we're starting to get more recognisation within the industry and more support.
And do you always want to support Australian, New Zealand riders, or would you go further afield?
We're definitely looking outside the field.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens next year.
Interesting.
Nothing's confirmed at the moment, but we're just, obviously my heart is Australian, New Zealand, but there's always going to be that 1 or 2 seasons where there's no one coming through.
Yeah, okay.
So definitely look at home first, and then there might be a mix next year if it all pays off.
Okay. And how big a challenge do you think it's going to be then to get from where you are to being a World Series team? Because it's pretty competitive for that. Is it 15 spots? Yeah,
15, and then I think 20 5 wild cards after that.
Yeah.
I don't know. At the end of the day, maybe in a year or two it won't be that hard, because if the industry keeps going the way it is,
we'll see less.
It's going to be the financial backers, the private financial backers.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you'll start seeing a lot more out of the industry sponsorship come on board. And it depends if you can get that on board and then buy some good riders. And I hate saying that, because the sport shouldn't be about buying riders.
Yeah.
It should be, about what riders want to be with the teams and stuff like that. That's the goal, is to try to source the money to get there. And
and have you got big gaps in the product lineup? I know a lot of industry people listen to the podcast. Is there certain product that you're kind of missing from the setup that you'd like to have?
All the brands that we've got this year, Continental, it'd be nice if we had the support worldwide.
From a global,
global, and I understand it from their point of view as well. Otherwise, we're running Frank Apparel, which is out of Western Australia. It's an Australian small brand. He's supported us from day dot. We're almost like the factory teams. They get a new uniform every second round or every third round. He's a big believer of that as well. We had Alpine Star come on for protection this year, which has been a massive help. Having a big brand like that on board. Northwave Shoes, they've been a big help. Fun as the Cockpit, SRAM, it's there. It's just getting to the next level. Getting product and financial support.
To help the thing grow. And you've got, I noticed on the team website as well, you've got some join the movement packages for people that want to support what you guys are doing, which is cool. So that was a new thing that I came up with this year, and that sort of came from motorsport as well. That some people bought in as a team member where they got behind the scenes. It's probably not as much as what we were hoping to do, being very limited with just Pos and I. So that's one area we definitely want to work on. They got a team jumper. We don't sell the team jumpers, so it's a unique jumper. And I do apologise to some of the people that have bought into that, and we definitely want to improve on that, because I think that's one area that can help is, they might get some
inside information. They get the race report that we send to all the sponsors and stuff like that. Eventually, they'll be able to, have a Q&A questions at the events and stuff like that. But that will all come in time when we've got some more staff to help us out.
Yeah, fair. What's the website?
It's www.teamhighcountry.com.au.
Perfect. I'll stick links to that in the show notes, and I'll dig out the Instagram for the team. Is it just Team?
Just Team High Country on, yeah.
Nice one.
So
good stuff, man. We should start wrapping up. We've got our final 4 questions that we're
cool.
asked many people over the years. The first of those, if our listeners had £150, which is about 300 Aussie dollars at the moment, to improve their performance on a bike, what would you recommend they go and spend it on?
I would say there's probably 2 factors, so you could choose from 2.
Okay.
1, tyres.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you don't have grip on the ground, that's a big factor. That's where speed and confidence comes from. The other thing is servicing suspension.
Yeah, regularly.
Yeah. Yep. You might have the best settings in your suspension, but if the oil's not clean and working correctly, then it makes your bike feel sluggish. You don't have the confidence. Yeah, so I'd say either tyres or suspension.
Yeah. Do you get factory level support on suspension servicing at the races?
Yeah, that's definitely probably one person we definitely missed out. TJ from Ollins.
Yeah,
we can't thank as much. Like they full support Special Gravity, and I basically can walk into the Ollins van and ask whatever we want.
That's sweet.
It's been a massive help. We've had other brands come to us and say, and my reply is, if you can't support what I'm getting from Ollins, why would I change?
Yeah, fair play. Good stuff. Good to hear they're doing that. All right, second one. If you could wind back the clock and sit down with yourself, age 16, what advice would you give him?
To have more confidence in what you believe in. I think I said before, heavily dyslexic. At school, I hated trying to read or write in front of kids because they'd bully me and stuff like that. At the end of the day, who cares?
Yeah. You've managed to make it work, right?
Yeah, yep. And, I've turned it around to make it work for myself and, and my wife, massive supporter. I'm still, when we're doing stuff for sponsorship, or how do you spell this? At the end of the day, don't be afraid. Just get out and do what you can do.
Yeah. It's amazing what you can do if you just go for it, eh?
Without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure. And you definitely have gone for it, so fair play.
Thank you very much.
Next one, if you could have a coaching session from anyone, past or present, who would it be and what would you want to learn? Often this is like a riding thing, but it doesn't have to be. It can be like team management or any area. This might be a little bit left field, but it's still to do with the bikes is, coming from rallying, suspension setups exactly the same. It runs quite well and stuff. It's very similar. I'd love to have a day with Jack, Loic's mechanic, is, just to nut some things out. We're at Shrumpery the other week and we're just having a little bit of a problem with one of the Ollins, and I went over and asked him and he explained some things, and, my mechanical brain clicked straight away and said, oh, why didn't I think about that? Okay.
So it's just more having that inside,
Just years of experience.
Years
right?
of experience. Yeah. And I think a lot of people forget Ollins is basically his baby.
Yeah.
Yes, you've got a big brand behind it, but Loic and Jack were
it's them
the
that
minds
that
behind
together.
it. And, a lot of people think that Ollins is harsh and stuff like that, but people don't understand it's a race suspension. Until you push it hard, it doesn't feel good.
Any race bike that you get on, right?
Without a doubt.
Feels horrible at the speed that any normal human would ride it. So
exactly right. Yep.
Different level, hey? Nice. Last one. What do you do every day that you feel benefits you? Are you a man of habit?
I try to get up at the same time every day.
Okay.
And I try to either go out for a 4 to 5K walk, or back in Australia we've got a pool close, so I like doing laps in the morning. And
nice.
People think, oh, but why do you do that? That's when I think. It's one other thing I do like having for myself is massages.
Okay.
And that's because I can lie there and actually feel comfortable to think of what I need to do for the next step of the team, or, even the family movements and stuff like that.
Is that where you do your thinking then?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair play.
It seems strange, but it's I guess it's a time that you're feeling yourself, because it's something you're doing for yourself.
Yeah.
And it just makes me feel easy to think and a clear mind and stuff like that.
So you're dreaming of the day when you can afford a team physio, right?
Maybe. I probably wouldn't get a look in because
Wow, yeah. Too busy fixing
there's
athletes.
a lot of athletes that probably deserve it more than me.
Oh, no, you've got to have some space to think, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice one. Well, it's been a pleasure. It's great seeing what you guys are doing and seeing like the riders that you support performing and the team looking great out there. So yeah, fair play for everything you've done so far. I'm excited to see how it progresses over the next few years. And yeah, thanks for coming on and sharing your story, Chris.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. And, just want to say thank you to all the people that have helped the team. Laurent, Gabe, Petey, all them. Without that, we can't get it done. And even our supporters back in Australia, without them, these kids wouldn't be here. So once again, thank you very much.